In the last video, we told you what Bitcoin's next move would be, and that's exactly what happened. In this video, we're going to do a quick technical analysis where we'll explain the importance of breaking this structure and why it makes us think that aiming for an all-time high might not be so far-fetched. The markets have been really bullish this morning, especially those assets that were lagging like Ethereum. Ethereum had a lot of ground to cover, not to mention Solana. What Solana has done has been spectacular. Honestly, truly spectacular. Let's do a recap. Both Solana and Ethereum were in a situation where they hadn't broken the creek. We were evaluating whether there would be a final test by Bitcoin before moving higher, or if everything was ready to shoot up straight away. We weighed those two options, and frankly, it was hard to tell which one they would choose. But one thing was clear. We were always looking up in the ecosystem. This was something we discussed in the last live stream we did yesterday. But as you know, we've been bullish for several days now. We also asked ourselves if this was the last point of supply, indicating that we wouldn't see a lower price from these levels, and that it was time to break the creek and enjoy an upward trend. As I mentioned in yesterday's live stream, when things are going as expected, you have to flow and follow along, right? What do I mean by that? If at the time we were analyzing the impulse, channel, range, and climactic action on a relevant structure, and we expected an impulse and a replica from there, etc., and during the fall, we saw the stopping volume, the absorption. We began to see buying initiatives, etc., etc. When everything is unfolding as expected, you have to continue with that same base idea that supports us. In this sense, we remained positive, staying long. So, what we've seen now is a clear break of the creek. Remember I told you that this structure, this Bitcoin creek, seemed oddly formed, but I said no, that it was very well defined. And I think that's been clearly demonstrated by how the price broke through. You don't break the creek timidly, in a messy or strange way. You break it decisively. Of course, if there are dirty tricks, they'll come in and then break it, which is a bit of what we've seen here. And that's why we could see that this was already well established. As for Jordi Bellavista's question, it's really hard to answer, dude. It's not something you can just zoom in on. What Jordi is asking is how we can distinguish between a compression to break a creek and an exhausted move that won't surpass the same creek. You can't just zoom in on an event that could potentially be a compression, like what we're seeing here, look at it and say, okay, this is what's happening. That's not how it works. You need to really understand the macro context that surrounds everything, right? And even then, I have to tell you, like, man, just yesterday I was saying, look, I'm not sure if they're going to make one last visit here before breaking through, or if they're going to move immediately. So, as you can see, answering that question is tricky. Honestly, I didn't know how they were going to do it. What I did have in mind was that this had to go up, right? Are they going to keep moving now? Are they going to do one last test in Bitcoin before going up? Well, that was the doubt we had, and it's really tied to your question, right? Is that compression going to lead to the classic target and then a move upward? Well, it's hard to say, but anyway. We were already looking for ways to re-enter pretty quickly, and in the end, we shared them because they were really actionable. I imagine that several members had already been long from before, right? I know that some members were already long from previous sessions, but is there anyone who wasn't long before and got in yesterday? Just out of curiosity, is there any member here in that situation? Meanwhile, we're going to keep watching the market here. All right, here we are. As I said, we need to start talking a bit about the macro picture now. Why? Because what we want to see is for this to keep going up. We're in a daily time frame. Look at what I'm saying. We need to see this continue to rise. In the end, we're still in that downward channel where the median line runs through here, but what matters to me is this. This break needs to take us to the top of the channel. That's where it needs to take us. And clearly, we'll be just a step away from triggering a black swan event and heading toward all-time highs. Honestly, this morning, I'm asking myself, are we already on the path to all-time highs? But be careful, in the sense that we still have to go through event after event after event, right? To reach that scenario, look, right now we have 22 participants. Yesterday, I was surprised because we had about 40, right? And I thought, wow, the live stream attendance has doubled. And today, we're back to the usual number for this time in the morning. I mean, there was a lot of interest yesterday, and look, the price has continued to rise today, but still, we need to wait for event after event because we're looking at the long term. Let's not forget where we are. It might seem like we're in a bear market, but we're definitely not. Not at all. We're coming off a very recent all-time high. We've had a strong move, and now we're in a period of consolidation. That in itself is a Z, and if that doesn't get broken, my friends, the Z continues, right? That's where I'm going with this. That's why today I wanted to take the opportunity to give us an eagle-eye view, right? right? Let's not forget about this circumstance, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting. Now, of course, it's a lot of speculation, but considering yesterday, Wednesday, we saw the break that could lead, eventually, to the pursuit of an all-time high. I don't know. Maybe this fails, maybe it messes around here, tricks us, and then takes off. I have no idea. Neither do I nor anyone else. But since we've been following the market so closely, this should keep going up. Based on what we've been working with, based on what we've been working on. Well, you know this isn't an exact science, but this is the idea we've got in mind, right? Ergo, let's continue looking for long opportunities. For example, those who are already positioned. Here's a point that was really good for going long. After seeing this impulse channel range and climactic action. Do you see exaggerated volume? Do you see a bounce? Do you see it testing a defense line? Okay, that's a key entry point. Positions could have been built slowly from here. We were calling out entry points for incorporation, possible entries. You can still keep incorporating, of course, but obviously the market is more extended now. There's more risk, no doubt. But the idea is not to look for shorts. The idea cannot be to look for shorts. It just can't. Of course, it's possible. It could happen. There could come a point where it corrects, where it makes a test before continuing. Sure, that could happen. That's why yesterday in Ethereum, well, actually, it might have been Solana. No, in both Ethereum and Solana, we were following the price closely. Do you remember how we were watching that compression? We were saying, let's see if it breaks. If it breaks, it would imply that the crypto ecosystem was going to do a test before continuing. But if it doesn't break, friends, the party continues. Tick, tick, tick. So, I'm also answering Angel Chant's question, who asked if we were leaving a shorting zone or a wedge that's about to collapse. To answer your question, is it wise to go long? It's also wise to consider those possible tests that you're talking about, Angel, and they make a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense. For that, you follow that wedge to see if it breaks. And if it does, you could go looking for that test, but always knowing that the bigger picture, the backdrop, is positive. It's bullish. Does that make sense? That's kind of what we did yesterday with Solana and Ethereum. I wanted to point out, look, we're bullish, we're positive. There are two scenarios. One, where we go straight up and don't wait for anyone. The message was maybe they're not waiting for anyone and they're moving up. Or they could make a small test before continuing. How do we know if they're going to make that small test? Well, look at Solana, at the compression. See if they want to break it, look at Ethereum, etc. In the end, we're always trying to find ways to see what coherent scenario they might execute, and that's what we always do here. So, there's no need to try and flip the market, okay? It's not prudent at all. Let's continue with Bitcoin. Like I said, we've experienced a black swan event. Clearly, my eye also drifts here. I'm not going to lie to you. My eye keeps going here. It's normal for it to catch my attention, but I don't want to over-parameterize the price structure when what really matters is this. This is what matters. This right here. If this is the point for a slight pullback and then boom, fine. But I wouldn't obsess over it. That's why I haven't drawn it. It doesn't mean I don't see it, because I do. Tomorrow, we'll see. But I prefer to keep it clean so I don't have the bias that tempts me to look for shorts. I don't want that temptation. I don't. Because if I do, I'll find ways to justify looking for shorts. But I'd rather not. I'll explain more in a moment. But first, welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity. I've told you already, in Bitcoin, we need to prioritize the search for long positions. Here, keep an eye on the defense zones. By now, I think you've got a masterclass in how we work here in Crypto Insight Premium. You've got a masterclass on how we operate. You know how to follow along, right? How we can look for a possible entry, how we can assess if that immediate trend might stop being so immediate. It could be like what Angel Chang's mentioned, where we're being compressed against a significant structure, and maybe they do a test before continuing. It's the same thing we evaluated yesterday thanks to following the market closely. So, we continue. More of the same here. You've got a nice defense zone that you can follow, seeing if you can enter during the test or the potential trap, and the party continues. If you see this collapse, if it collapses, it's probably because we're going to make the test. Yeah, does that make sense? But anyway, there are potential entry zones here. If you're working with a stop loss that protects you, you're good to go. Look at Ethereum. How amazing. It's broken through. I loved seeing Ethereum. The way it's moving, we just have to stay positive. positive, really. We have to stay positive in the market. We've been positive since the bottom, so let's keep that mindset, even now that we're here. Let's continue to stay positive. Honestly, maybe Ethereum isn't the best asset to buy right now. I'm being upfront about that. But we need to look for a setup that allows us to get in. The message is to keep trying to make this continue. We want to see this continue. And it's the same with Bitcoin. I'll tell you, I'm also seeing this. I see it. Yes, I'm aware. Maybe we could see a little pullback here, but then boom, it goes up again. I don't want to give it more importance than it deserves, which is why I haven't drawn it out. I know it's there. And now you're aware too, but visually, I don't want it to dominate the chart. What's really important is this. All these people who have been patiently buying since September 3rd have been accumulating since the beginning of the month, and we've been tracking this in the videos and live streams. We've seen climactic action with absorption, and now they've actively started buying. Let's not forget the work we've been doing. It's going well. It's well analyzed. Let's not forget. Yes, there's more room to move up. And as for BNB, incredible, absolutely incredible. How they came to do the test and then defended the zone after. It's textbook, pure textbook. To be clear, BNB is an asset that's great for analysis and trading. I've always said that. It's very good. Obviously, there will be times when it's unreadable, like any asset, but it's always on my radar. There are always opportunities with it. That's what I'm telling you. I don't care about Binance as a company. I don't even have an account with them, and it makes no difference to me. But BNB is excellent for analyzing and speculating. I've always said this. For some reason, it's been consistently technical from the daily to the weekly time frame. It's easy to read. Just take a look at this from back in the day. Do you get what I mean? We're in a Z, and yes, they've made it a bit tricky, but we've been able to identify where the creek is thanks to the weekly chart. We've already talked about that. So, even though they're trying to make things difficult, we know how to push their buttons anyway, right? Now, look, if BNB breaks this with force tomorrow, who's going to stop it from hitting an all-time high, right? I mean, just look at Bitcoin. I was talking about it earlier. It's only a couple of steps away. If it plays out the way we think it might, we don't know if it will. We have no idea. But if it does, we could be talking about all-time highs in no time. And this is happening while we've been analyzing the traditional market. You'll remember we said, hey, the S&P 500 is going to all-time highs. Boom, all-time highs. And now the Nasdaq is lagging a bit, but it's going to feel the same pull. It just broke the creek. And all this while, the media, the economists, what are they saying? The US is in a technical recession. The crisis is inevitable. It's a fact. That's the noise we're hearing. But you all know what's going on, right? You see the cocktail we've got in front of us, don't you? When economists, reputable ones, the ones people say are incredible, it doesn't matter who, come out with their metrics and say the crisis is a fact. Well, they've been saying that every year, every month, for the last 10 years. And what's happened? What's the reality? It's just scares, that's all. They just want to scare people. So, like I said 2 or 3 days ago, we've got to stay positive about the traditional markets, and the connection to the crypto market tells us to be positive there as well. That's the key point, right? That's the key. So what do you all think? Give me some feedback. What are your thoughts on all this? All right, let's take a look at Solana. Solana, in this context, like I've been saying, has to go through a series of events one after another, right? But what I don't want is for people to misunderstand and think I'm saying for sure that we're heading to an all-time high in crypto. No, absolutely not. What I'm saying is that we're really just a couple of confirmations away from that event possibly happening. Now, when it comes to Solana, how are they presenting it to us? It's already moving with intention, right? Could they give us a proper black swan tomorrow? Who knows? How are they going to do it? I have no idea. Will they stop this? Who knows? Will they make a strong breakout? And then what's going to stop it? This is based on cross-analysis, not just Solana, but something's brewing here. Are you with me? Do you see how something's brewing? What the heck is happening here? What have they been doing here for so long? Going up and down just for the sake of it? You know the problem with smart money, right? They need to consume time to get the liquidity, the necessary counterpart to make the move they want to make. And they do this continuously. Look at it. In all directions. Look at it. It's always the same. The market always moves in the same way. You see it, right? It's insane. You see it here too, don't you? How they consume time and then make the move. Let's see if anyone's responding, folks. We've got 27 people here. If not, I feel like I'm talking to myself, or that maybe the message isn't getting across. The Gallus Hermanos say, it all looks like an explosion, but maybe that's just what they wanted to seem like before giving a big scare. Jordi R says, totally agree. Angel Chang says, it's clear. Renzo Gloria says, yes, it's very clear what you've drawn. The Rise Hermanos say, it's very clear. Alex Cruz says, I'd like if you could explain how they consume time to make the move. I don't quite get it. All right, remind me at the beginning of the next session. The next live, remind me and I'll try to explain it in a summarized way, okay? I can't go into it now since we don't have time, but remind me. me. Alex Neer says the idea is understood. Renzo, okay, perfect. All right, well, that's it. For me, the point of today's session was really to focus on this, to remind you of what we talked about in yesterday's live, that we need to keep favoring the idea of buys. We need to keep favoring the idea of buys. And look, well, maybe I shouldn't say it. Well, yes, what the heck. The other day, a crypto analysis channel popped up in my YouTube feed. I honestly don't remember the name. I don't know what it's called, but they were encouraging people to look for shorts as if they had a crystal ball, saying the market was going to drop. Oh wait, now I remember. It was because they were looking at liquidation levels. They were saying, look at these liquidation levels. The market has to collapse here. It has to drop. Be careful. Seriously, be very careful with those liquidation level indicators that are plotted so nicely on the chart, supposedly showing where traders would lose all their money if the price reaches there. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It doesn't matter. I've had the chance to be very close to the development of these types of indicators. I've been very, very close with different people working on this. And I can tell you, first of all, that the free stuff on TradingView, which many YouTube channels use, by the way, the information they get to show those supposed levels where they color code and say, if it hits here, it'll reverse, blah, blah, blah. That info is plotted, not based on anything close to, not even remotely, where investors' stop losses are placed. It's based on basic, absurd, ridiculous formulas from technical indicators like Bollinger Bands. It's ridiculous. And they sell it to you like they have insider information, like they somehow know where the liquidation levels are. Then there are external platforms, websites that also provide that information. Do you know for sure? Do you know for sure how that indicator is configured? How they're getting that info? Or is it more opaque? Ask yourself that question and see if you're even remotely interested in looking at that kind of stuff, because it's just smoke, pure marketing. It's like when smart money concepts and institutional trading became trendy. They came along and twisted the name of what we do in Crypto Insight. Honestly, it made me pretty angry because you'd watch content on YouTube and hear people talking about smart money, and then you'd realize they're talking about everything but that. They're just saying ridiculous things tied to ICT, smart money concepts, and all these stories where they draw rectangles on the chart and tell you they're going to mitigate liquidations. And other nonsense that doesn't make any sense because it doesn't. That became a trend. That's how the trading world works. Now, liquidation levels are the new trend. Same old thing, same nonsense. So don't pay any attention to it, because literally they're giving you information based on nothing but smoke. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so YouTube can notify you about future uploads. Share this video with your friends and with other trading and cryptocurrency communities. Good luck with your trades, and until next time, subscribe.